Hey there, John Paulus here. You're listening to Life's Potluck Buffet, and today's episode is about understanding strengths. So, won't you join me for Worksheet 16 after this brief musical pause? So, Worksheet 16 is a version of Card 16, of course, and Card 16 talks about how your greatest weakness is actually your greatest strength. Well, Worksheet 16 takes a little bit of a different tack and thinks about how what we view as a strength is often a weakness, and its opposite is actually our strength. Let's do this worksheet. All right, so I'm going to start with the right side of the worksheet because that's where the first instruction is. It says, first put something that you view as a strength on the line below. And that line has an A in front of it, and it's a bold line on the bottom, and it says A. Okay, so first put something that you view as a strength on the line below. I will get a pen color. What are we going to do today? Now let's do this lighter blue. Okay. We are. So it's a lighter cyan, I would call it. A cyan. Okay. I'm gonna write. Whoa. Writing in script again. Okay. It's really hard not to. Okay. I'm printing now. Detail. Oriented. They say that's a strength of mine. I'm detail oriented. All right. Fine. Then put on the line above what you think is the opposite of what you wrote to the right. I'm going to write the word now. You know what? I was about to write carefree, but I'm gonna write. I just thought footloose, footloose and fancy free. What is that? A fancy free? What does fancy free even mean? I know what it means, but free from fancies. I don't have any fancies today. I'm just footloose. I'm gonna write fancy free because it's just funny. Okay. And in fact, I think the fun is also seemingly the opposite of detail oriented. I'm writing all these words above the line because we know rule number 2. There are, none of these lines mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Feel free to write above them, below them, on top of them, and they're just there to give you a visual aid of where to put stuff, because there's a little bit of a sentence on the bottom that you need to plug in answers to. So I'll get to that in a sec. But so detail oriented. I realized A, and I'm going to write below detail oriented is. I'm starting to realize that can't spell that right. That my detail oriented is actually obsessive. It's maybe a little bit overly detail oriented. All right, overly detail oriented. All right, overly above the line. Overly detail oriented. So you see how this strength is starting to seem a little bit less strong? It's starting to actually seem like a weakness rather than a strength. And that's the point of this exercise, because a lot of times we're just telling ourselves something that isn't a strength because that's the way things happen. That's the way things work. That's the way we mess things up for ourselves. So, and if we're looking for strengths, we're looking for real strengths that we really are can say, okay, you know what? Actually, that is right. And then other people can say, yeah, that looks like a strength to me too. Because, your idea of, and my idea of, I'm really detail oriented is great. People looking at me would say, and me looking at other people who say, I am detail oriented, say, well, it looks like you're getting a little bit hung up on the small, on the, you're losing the forest for the trees, as they say, right? And when we elevate something like this to the level of a strength, it ends up becoming a weakness. It's interesting, right? We think, oh, well, that's a real strength. I'm detail oriented. And then you realize that, well, actually, being detail oriented here is probably you saying, oh, actually, I just get like obsessive about small details that don't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. And then I create a strength out of that as opposed to seeing it for the kind of weakness that it is. And by weakness, I mean something that doesn't help our flourishing, something that hurts our flourishing. That's all I mean by weakness. It's not like some sort of like moral weakness. It's not some sort of anything like that. It's just simply, is this strength here means, is this something that helps us flourish, or is it something that holds us back from flourishing? And the thing that we're going to write on line A, even though we think it's something that like is, oh, that's a strength, it's actually something that actually is harming our chances at flourishing. So overly detail-oriented, obsessive. So that was that strength that I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I stand for. And we realize, okay, that's a weakness. On B side here, I put on that line the opposite of what that was, which was footloose, fancy-free, fun even, right? I'm going to write the word careless, because that is that would be that's the me that's clinging on to the detail-oriented nature speaking. It's saying, oh, it's careless, it's sloppy work, it's shoddy work, you're not, that's that. But you know what? I'm going to take careless and I'm going to delete less, and I'm going to replace that with carefree. Notice how we turn that negative, careless, into the idea that, you know what, it's not that you're careless when you're not overly detail-oriented and obsessive over these small things. You actually become carefree when you're the opposite of that. Okay, so fun, carefree, fancy-free, footloose, all these things. This means that I'm creative, imaginative. I'm going to write creative here. I'll write the word imaginative. I'll also highlight a box for some reason. Okay, let me delete that. Creative, imaginative, I should probably put the A before the G in imaginative. Imaginative, but you know what? I'm fancy free, so no problem. I don't need to worry about that. Nice. Okay, so I wrote creative, imaginative. All right, so now the instructions say, now read the following sentence out loud using what you filled in above. And there's a C next to that. Because why? Because these worksheets, especially the yellow lemon dots, tend to be about that third thing, third time's a charm, So C is the most important thing. As we know, in Life's Potluck Buffet, C always has the answers for us. So here's the answer. Being blank is a greater strength than being blank. Okay, and now I'm going to, below those lines, it says B and A because you plug in what you've written over on the left side, which is B, and then what you've written on the right side, which is A. You plug it into those spaces, and you're basically turning into a sentence what the little kind of mathematical formula is here, where it says B is greater than A if you read it from left to right in the center there. So you're basically plugging that into a sentence now. So here we go. Being fun, carefree, fancy-free, footloose, creative, imaginative is a greater strength than being overly detail-oriented and obsessive. I'm going to read that one more time for myself. Being fun, carefree, fancy-free, footloose, creative, imaginative is a greater strength than being overly detail-oriented and obsessive. So give worksheet 16 a try. Plug in what you think are your strengths. Do the opposite. Plug it into the sentence and see what you come up with. Because I think you're going to find a strength. or a set of strengths that's going to help you flourish today and every day. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and head to lifespotluck.com/worksheets to get a copy of Worksheet 16 today so you could try it out for yourself. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next episode.